G'day traders, we're going to wrap up of Wednesday the 5th of September. Got the daily chart up here. We're still sticking in between this bit of a range that we're forming. Basically made this little bit of a low which I marked earlier on a couple of weeks ago, and then since the market came back up, had a look at this upper area, and then it's come back down, had a look at it, bounce off again, and really sticking within a range from about 95 to 1412. So what's that? About a 20-point range. What shows it better? Always bring up the 15-minute chart. So here it is here. If I kind of just squash it up for a bit, so you can see we've got basically last week and a half here. I could add in another line, and you can see that it's running in between a channel at the moment. So there's no real trend line. So previously, as you can see, I've got all sorts of trend lines, which the market, when it's trending, obviously then you can go ahead and get those sort of areas, and they act as really good vertical support resistance. At the moment, we've just got this sort of horizontal channel that there's no real trend line, but we're certainly ranging within this area. So look for it at any stage to sort of get up out of this range, or even on the downside, out, and use it either as resistance down here to push lower, or support to push higher. So on the 5-minute and 1-minute charts today, it's quite an interesting day. It's kind of been typical of what's been happening this week as a result of watching those 15-minute charts, and that's that we're very much not really getting any sort of consistent trends today. The market really looked like it wanted to go a few times in both directions if I kind of just pan through the day, but it never really had an opportunity to go, and just again it's sort of, even in the shorter term, it's sticking within a channel as well. So the markets, to start off with, they really stuck within the pre-market range. You can see pre-market, I'll just show you that's the pre-market there. So you imagine sort of 1400 to about 1406.50. So it came down, had a look at the bottom area there, popped up, and at this stage here all our markets started to get a bit of a bounce. So wasn't interested in going lower from there. It looked like it might want to go to the upside. It was around here, it sort of pulled back, you can see, then went again at these highs and really started to break through and so get some momentum, and looked like possibly the upside was definitely, they're going to have a bit of a go at forming a bit of a trend there. It got some momentum, but almost to the ticket it stopped at 1408, and previously 1408 previous day was basically the top of the market as well. And if you go back through the last few days or even weeks, 1408's been quite a key level in the market, so it just failed to get above that. From there, turned around, and then these couple of red candles here, and so the 1-minute chart shows it quite well as well. You can see the equivalent area of the 1-minute chart. It got some real momentum, started to push down strongly, sort of got underneath another key level which I've marked here, 1403. These, when I say key levels, these are just fairly strong support resistance areas that keep on reoccurring over the previous days and weeks. Like a trend line, but it's horizontal support and resistance where markets just keep on reacting, because at the moment that seems to be what the market's doing. Rather than trending, it's just really reacting to these solid support resistance areas. So we sort of got underneath it, looked to use it as resistance to push lower. It failed to do that, didn't quite have the momentum to keep on going down. What's happened then, if you look a bit closer on the 1-minute chart, shows it pushed up through it, came back, used it as support straight away, so it still confirms that 1403 line, but rather than pushing through it, popped underneath it for a while, then used it as support to go higher. The interesting thing about this moving average 20 line, just to touch on it for a second, I love it as far as providing an overall direction of the market, rather than trying to really break down what price action is doing. For me, I use, most of the time for my trading, I just use whatever direction this line is pointing. Okay, so through here it was pointing up, so obviously we're in an uptrend. As we started coming down here and getting underneath this key level here, and even popping up here, thought it could use it as resistance to push lower, and you can still see the moving average line is pointing down. Definitely a selling area. In the end, not all areas are correct, and then the market decided to push higher. And then as soon as it pushed higher and got above this level and came back, basically this spot here and this spot here, used it as support to go high. You can see already the moving average is basically swinging to the upside. So even in a tight little area like that, the moving average is doing a pretty good job at showing the overall direction. It's easy to see now in hindsight, but It's amazing how, as far as a round figure, the moving average 20 on the 5-minute chart does a great job at just giving the overall direction. And I'd say 9 out of 10 times it's pretty much on the money. So from there, obviously this direction's changed. It's got support. We're pushing up higher. We've got a 5-minute buy. So at the end of a quad and extend candle, an area that looked like it's potentially going to go on and go up and have a look at these highs again. But in the end, it's just basically, I think it might have run out of puff as we hit this lunchtime. So if this had been the morning period, maybe it would have had something there to continue on higher. But as soon as it hits this lunchtime period, it's really gone sideways. We're getting these real distinct lunchtime periods at the moment, just because we're still coming out of the August sort of holiday period in the US, and as a result, we're seeing this lack of volume through lunchtime. But we'll get to say where it picks up again, and quite often the market will quite often trade straight on through lunchtime. That's when volume's certainly picking up again. So we'll get back to that stage eventually. But as far as this is concerned, certainly a lunchtime period here. As far as this little bit of a down movement here, it was predictable. And if you watch the other markets, so what was happening here, very sideways range. Basically, the market created a little bit of a what I call swing low or a pivot point here where it tried to go higher from. Okay, so it's pushed up, come back, tried to go higher. Even though it's through lunchtime, it's very sideways. It's if it starts failing to go higher and starts breaking through this point here, and you've got all the other markets pushing down as well, then it's going to get a bit of a momentum shift, and that's what happened. This candle here and a couple of candles around here. If you look at the Russell, it was really putting some pressure on the downside, and it's the first one to sort of break out of this sideways channel and break to the downside. And as a result, the ES has followed. It's come down and bounced off that 1400, pretty much to the tick there. And then from there, again, it's sort of this case today, and this is why today was a bit of a strange day, where it just couldn't get a continuation and get a trend. I thought possibly here it might want to come up and have a look at 1403 and use it as resistance to push lower. It wasn't the case. It had a bit of a go, but it sort of just really hung around this 1403, and certainly there's a few changes of momentum. You can see again, moving average line pointing down. There's a certain area where it could potentially hold and head lower. Then all of a sudden, where it's trying to go push lower, we've got a 5-minute sell here, which looked pretty good. It pushed down a couple of times and looked to sort of break through this little bit of a level here, but it couldn't do that. And as soon as it failed to do that and started popping up, momentum started to change and actually looked like the market might want to break up through this level here, but it never actually got there. But the moving average already starting to indicate that by starting to turn around and point to the upside. But ended up finishing just being a bit of a sideways move there to finish off the day. So as far as the 1-minute charts go, I guess and until it starts really trending, it's hard to really get some confidence or belief in some of these PowerPoint setups. So this area here, it's gone 1, 2, 3, 4 PowerPoints, but there's not a lot of power there. It's come back, and trying to buy this PowerPoint, get a continuation of the trend, which you can be confident doing once the market starts trending. It's certainly not the best area to be buying because all the other markets were breaking down, and there's certainly an indication just around this area here that there was a bit of a change in direction coming, and then it started to really get some momentum, and it's failed to continue on through it. It started popping up again. Here's this real sideways lunchtime period. So if you sort of mark 1404.25, that was sort of the low of where it tried to go higher from. You can see here, came, tested. As soon as it popped its head through it, that's the real change in momentum. And also the fact it's coming outside of lunch and all the other markets pushing down meant it had the momentum to push down a couple of points, 3-4 points there. Again, failed to go on with it. You can see this price action is certainly slower compared to the morning. And then to finish off the afternoon, quite a slow price action. Not a lot happening. This is the area here where it popped down and looked like it was potentially going to start to sell off. We've got a 5-minute sell here, so you can see it's popped up, come down, put some pressure. If we could just get sort of poke its head through here and get a bit lower, that would have possibly given it some momentum and start picking up some sell orders down here. And from there you might see it go lower, but it just couldn't get through there. You can see a couple of times it's tested it, it's held, and then eventually it's tried to go higher, but hasn't even really done that. It's just stuck within a sideways channel. So that's a wrap up for Wednesday. I mean, as far as today, even though there's no trends, you can still even within a channel sort of setup, whether you're looking at the longer term charts or even the shorter term charts, there's still opportunities to be seen. You don't necessarily always have to have trending, good trending markets to get great trading opportunities. It's just a matter of identifying what the market's doing and realizing that the market's doing certain things, and then just playing with it or going with that, and making sure sort of getting interpretation of what this market's doing most of the time. Back Thursday.